Hello and welcome to World in 5. Zimbabwe and Cuba should work on upscaling economic relations that benefit the two sister countries. This was said by the President of the Cuban National Assembly, Honorable Esteban Lazo Hernandez, after holding bilateral talks with President Mnangagwa at State House. He said there is need for the two countries to solidify their long-lasting relations, which date back to the liberation struggle.
Las relaciones entre Cuba y Zimbabue son muy estrechas.
Relations between Cuba and Zimbabwe are very close.
Cumplen este año 45 años.
We are celebrating this year the 45th anniversary of the relations between our two countries.
Pero incluso son desde antes,
But they date back before,
desde la lucha por la independencia.
since the struggle for the independence of Zimbabwe.
Y hemos sembrado una semilla profunda de amistad entre nuestros pueblos.
And there is a very deep connection and friendship between our two peoples.
Muchos cubanos
Many Cubans
han cumplido misión aquí en Zimbabue.
were sent in missions here to Zimbabwe.
Más de 3,000.
Over 3,000 Cubans have come here.
Y más de 3,000 hijos de este pueblo
And there are over 3,000
se han graduado en Cuba.
sons and daughters of Zimbabwe who have been able to study
Como
and
parte
to
de la amistad entre
graduate
nuestro pueblo.
in Cuba as a proof of our friendship with the people.
Zimbabwe is hosting the Southern African Development Community Prisons and Correctional Training Program aimed at equipping prisons administrators with management skills that foster rehabilitation and reintegration of prisoners. The SADC Secretariat is leading the engagements, focusing on skills and knowledge on mainstreaming gender and human security issues, peace-building efforts, strategies and policies.
And we are also going to talk about change management. We are moving from prison to correctional institution. So this is where we would want all these senior officers to know first that we are moving in the direction of correctional, and we leave the old way of doing things. And so we concentrate on rehabilitation and reintegration of inmates. So we are very happy that we managed to get support from SADC. That's why we have got SADC senior officers here, and working together as SADC enables us to learn more new ways of running a correctional institution.
Zimbabwe, like most countries in Africa, is facing a growing hearing loss crisis, with experts warning that without urgent intervention, many will continue to be affected. As the country marks World Hearing Day on 3 March, calls for action have intensified. To mark this day, we take time to recognize our loved ones who have been affected by hearing loss and how we can still remain in flawless communication with them. South Africa has temporarily closed its 5 borders, most of them with Botswana due to flooding, and travelers have been advised to use Beitbridge border post among other ports in the interim. The Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, Dr. Michael Masiapato, announced the temporary suspension of operations at Stockport, Mahopistad, Bray, Grobler's Bridge and Pont Drift.
At Stockport Port of Entry, operations have been suspended as the port is completely surrounded by water. The corridor leading to the port, the operational area and the bridge after the port have been submerged. BMA and other law enforcement officials were stranded on the island where the immigration office is located. In response, the emergency medical services in Limpopo were activated yesterday to evacuate affected employees, including all law enforcement officers, using an EMS helicopter for their safety. The BMA announces that the port of entry water levels have now subsided and normal operations have since resumed. Travelers and operators affected by the 5 ports of entry's suspension of operations are advised to use Ramatlaba Makopfontein Beitbridge and Skillsbuds Hek as alternatives for cross-border movement.
Mike Chimombe and Moses Mpofo's trial was postponed for the 18th time, this time around to the 17th of March. This comes after the court heard that Chimombe, who was said to be unwell, is yet to recover. He was, however, brought to court in the second session of the hearing after the judge questioned contradictory statements from his defense. Kimberly Chimbalanga covered the proceedings.
Mike Chimombe and Moses Mpofo's trial in the presidential God-person scheme has been postponed again. This was after Mike Chimombe failed to turn up for the morning session due to illness, the same reason that saw the case postponed last week. Chimombe's defense counsel, Professor Love Momaduku, told the court that his client had been examined by a government doctor and was ordered to be on bed rest for another 7 days. Justice Pisai Kwenda, who is presiding over the case, stated that postponing the matter was not an issue, but he needed a written doctor's notice. He further interrogated prisons on why they had not brought Chimombe to court. The officer in charge told the court that he had been told that the court was aware of his absence. He added that Chimombe was set to be examined by his doctor Monday afternoon, contrary to what the defense had said. Chimombe was later brought to court for the afternoon session. The case was postponed to 17 March. Previously, the state had told the court that the delaying tactics by the accused persons are worrisome for a trial that was expected to start in October last year. The duo stand accused of defrauding the government of $7.7 million in the presidential God-person scheme. For such TN Prime, I'm Kimberly Chimbalanga in Harare.
Egyptians are flocking to the markets to shop for lanterns, desserts and other traditional items for Ramadan, a Muslim holy month that started on Friday. Lasting until March 30, Ramadan typically sees special traditions observed across Egypt, and buying Ramadan lanterns is a centuries-old Egyptian tradition and a source of joy for adults and children alike. The large lanterns are used for decorating streets and the front doors and corridors of coffee shops, restaurants, and hotels, while small ones are used as toys for children. A colorful lantern market in the capital, Cairo, receives inflows of shoppers who intend to buy their families exquisite decorations for the holy month. That was all we had for Old in 5. Have a good afternoon.